They can miss the kids. Yeah. Let's do it.
I want to welcome everybody here tonight. I'd like to call this meeting to order June 5th, 2018, 6 o'clock. At this time, I need approval of the agenda.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
It's our pleasure tonight. We've got Pastor Beth Holloway from Wayside Presbyterian Church going to do our invocation and pledge.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we are thankful for this day and this city, this county, and we come together and as we seek to be those who are good stewards of all that you give to us. We pray for each of these commissioners that they may be granted your guidance. We pray that for those who are gathered here, that we all may seek to do what is best and choose what is best for our county. We just pray your wisdom be upon each of us here, and we pray in all things that your glory be revealed. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we move on with our meeting tonight. We'll have planning and zoning starting off with all planning and zoning requests. We like to hear from both sides. So if the requests are presented to the board, if anybody here is in opposition to these, I'll give you an opportunity to come forward so everybody can be heard. Mr. Petrowski, would you like to come forward and start our planning and zoning?
Chairman, item A is a request by Greater Jordan Chapel Church. They own the former Idella Duncan School. They'd like to establish a cemetery for the church on this property. Regulations require 20 acres to establish a new cemetery. They have had a variance granted by the Board of Appeals and Adjustments. So the matter before you is whether conditional use should be granted to allow the church cemetery on this property. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of this request.
Thank you very much. Any questions, Mr. Petrowski? Is anybody here in opposition to this request? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So, Mr. Chairman, make the motion. We move forward with giving them permission to put the cemetery on the property.
Second.
Have a motion to second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Both ayes have it. Thank you.
Chairman, item B is a request by Tamika Davis to allow a group daycare home in this property located at 107 Bone Creek Drive. Ms. Davis currently operates this daycare in her home in Bibb County. She's wanting to move to Jones County, live on this property, and take care of 6 children. This is a conditional use in the RR1 district, and the Planning Commission has recommended approval of this request.
Okay. Is anybody here in opposition to this request or not? If none, have a motion.
So, Mr. Chairman, make the motion. We move forward, giving them permission to put our daycare in the home.
All right. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any more discussion? None. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Chairman, item 3 is a request to rezone a parcel from C2 to C1. This property has an existing dwelling located on it, which is not a permitted use in the C2 district. It's located at 104 Yukon Road. The Pritchetts, whose home burned down on another location, have proposed purchasing this property, but they were unable to do that because of the commercial zoning. The C1 zoning would make the home a conforming use. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of this request.
Okay. As with all, is anybody opposed to this request? If none, a motion from the board?
Motion to approve.
A motion approved. We have a second?
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? None. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Chairman, our final item, item D, is the request that this board began approximately 2 months ago to amend the Comprehensive Land Development Resolution, Section 81, Tables 8 and 9. This will alter the lot coverage requirement if sewer is provided to a commercially or industrially zoned lot, raising it from 50 and 65% to 80% lot coverage being permitted. Planning Commission has recommended approval of this request.
All right.
This conforms with city.
Yes, it mirrors the city's requirement.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Petrowski? If none,
Motion to approve, Chairman.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? None? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Would you be able to stay for number 2 on the new business?
Yes, sir.
A little bit, thank you. We go forward, consent agenda and approval from the minutes. We had the third Tuesday, May 15th, 2018, and we have the call meeting of May 29th, 2018 at 6 o'clock. Everybody had an opportunity to look at that, so need approval?
So moved, Chairman.
A motion to approve?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
So ayes have it, thank you. No visitors signed in tonight. New business, recreation facility rental, Commissioner Kitchens, this was this is on your,
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Currently, our rental policy doesn't, it says no refunds. Most of them that I've dealt with say no refunds, except for certain reasons, like inclement weather or something like that. And I would like to see us put that you could have a refund if you're not able to use the facility for some reason that you can't control.
any discussion on that? It sounds like a reasonable request, but
There's nothing we have to do in advance of somebody renting a facility, is it?
Not particularly, no, sir.
So has that happened in the past where it rained and we just refuse to give people their deposit backs?
Right, but that's our policy right now.
Okay.
There's no refunds, and it was rain out, and so it's one of the issues that we need to, in my opinion, change the policy if we're, to allow for that.
Yeah.
And since we don't have to do any prep work or anything before a rental, I agree with that.
Commissioner Martin?
2 questions. One, did we recently, or most recently, have someone that we needed to refund because of inclement weather that we should have?
In my opinion, no.
You want to explain?
There's always a catch.
We had a lady that rented the pavilion, came up Friday, was to get the key like they do 99% of the time. We discussed with Chantel. She discussed with Chantel about the weather. She was fine with it. She got the key and went on and proceeded. The other lady who, first of all, Liberty Park has a side A and a side B. And when we rent it, you have the option to rent either the whole thing or one half.
Okay.
She rented one half. She claims that her half got rained out, but simultaneously to her rental, the other half continued on and with no issues whatsoever. With me discussing that with Chantel and with Levita, we got together and we came with, we stuck with our policy to send no refund.
Which side has the pavilion, A or B?
Both.
Both?
I mean, I'm sorry.
Which side
No,
has
it
the
is,
pavilion?
it's one large pavilion.
Right.
And you had the choice to rent the whole pavilion, which is 8 tables, or just half of the pavilion, either
Okay.
A side or B side.
Gotcha. Okay, I was thinking the park was split.
No, I'm sorry. No, sir.
All right.
So she had a dry place to have the event.
In our opinion.
No. And I'll give a little bit of the phone call I got was, and I know the day it was because I had 4 events scheduled for that day and all 4 of them were canceled. It was April 22nd, Earth Day, and there were 80% chance of thunderstorms. It was bad weather. The call I got was that she had to make a decision because for the different people that were going to be there traveling and this and that. So with the threat of rain the way it was, she couldn't have it party. From what I gather, the other one was local, kind of okay. I'm here and it's not raining. We can have our event. That was what I got from it. But it just made me look at the policy, and there's no opportunity to refund for rain or inclement weather.
And I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to what Commissioner Kitchens is recommending here. I'm just answering the question.
Right. But I guess you don't want to get into that mix up. Well, I want to have my party at 12 and it was raining at 12. So, I want my refund back. I can't move it back to 4, No. But But I think there needs to be some verbiage in there where they do have a right to get the refund back. I just don't know exactly. Is it up to the county administrator, the public works? I mean, the Parks and Recreation director?
I
or
do
what?
it at the discretion of somebody.
Right, at the discretion of the
Parks and Rec with the backing of
county administrator.
the administrator. That way, what do you thought? Any thoughts on that?
Sounds fair. I think inclement weather is obviously the exception. It's one of those tough things where you can't predict it, and especially Georgia or Florida weather, it is what it is. And this past week was kind of rough. I'm inclined, especially with what happened this past week, to, refund this lady's money. And I would say implementing a inclement weather clause, that to me would be the only out. It's not, I don't feel like having a party today, or my DJ didn't show up. That's on you.
Yeah.
But short of weather. And again, A/B side, depending on how the rain actually came, could be affected. And I don't know because I wasn't there. And we have to lend that judgment call to
Right.
those.
And I wasn't there either, and I agree with you. And that's why I got with Levita and Chantel, and we talked about what the information we had upon ourselves, and that's where we came up with the decision. So I'm good with being with Jason and
Yeah.
Okay. You want to put that in the motion with the?
Yeah, Chairman, I make a motion that we add to our rental clause, an inclement weather clause to allow, a judgment to be made whether a refund is available.
All right.
At the discretion of the Parks and Recreation Director and the county administrator.
Yes, sir.
Second. Okay.
Second. Any more discussion? None. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Commercial property setback, Mr. Commission, Mr. Kitchens, we've got you again on.
Stop putting me on everything.
Your name's down here.
I think this goes with our 80% rule that we just approved a few minutes ago. Along with that, there's a buffer setback, and just when we were looking at that, I want to try to clear up between city and county so we have some uniform standards there. I think it's 25 foot in the city, 25 foot in the county and 10 foot in the city. So if you have a lot that doesn't have a lot of parking lot space, you can get into some trouble with a 25 foot
Sure.
buffer around.
Kim, can you come forward? So we've got you recorded for the record as far as any questions. All right. This is the gentleman. He can tell you exactly how it's set up.
We gotta let this go.
Hold on. You want me to just start talking?
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't quote me on numbers because between the two, I don't remember exactly. I believe the city requires a 10-foot landscape strip adjacent to the highway. We require 25 feet. Also, our buffers for the C2 district, I believe the city requires 15 feet for a buffer. We require 75 feet. That can be reduced to 37.5 feet through a variance if the board finds that what's being provided is adequate. Those are the current buffer requirements.
Do we have any reason why there's such a big difference between, and I understand that it's a more rural and, setting, but there are areas where the county line borders the city, and everywhere that could be potentially developed, we're going to run into an issue because you may have on the county line, you may have one business here that has a certain set of setbacks and one, across the street that has other ones.
I only remember one case where it's been a significant issue, and it was when the shopping center was developed on Pecan, Clinton Crossing. They had some problems with the buffers there, and they applied for variances, and they were granted. In the other areas, normally when we're out in the county, we've got larger areas, and the 75-foot buffer has been working. We haven't had a whole bunch of variance requests. Some of the parcels that might be impacted by it are adjacent to commercially zoned property, and so they weren't having to provide the buffer in those cases.
So did I hear, so residential does not have to do that?
That's correct.
Commercial.
The onus is on the commercial development abutting the residential.
And much like in Mr. Pritchard's scenario, if the change happened from one class to the other, would they then have to honor the more stringent?
Let's say that Mr. Pritchard actually went to residential. So everything would be existing in that area. With the zoning change, the commercially zoned property adjacent to it wouldn't have to do anything. But let's say somebody wanted to come in and develop that property. Then at that point, they would have to provide a 75-foot buffer along Mr. Pritchett's property line because of the zoning change that's taken place. Being commercial, no buffer would have been there, but since we've changed it to residential, now a buffer would be required.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Would there be any, I just, for my own educational purpose, is there any reason why we couldn't have common buffers and common setbacks? Would it hurt us?
The only thing I'll say is when this was being put together, the counties was done first. And the buffer requirements were set then. And the thought process was, like you just mentioned, we're agricultural, we're rural, we've got commercial, and we can get, in many cases, we can at least get 37.5 feet. And then you're providing a vegetative buffer. When the city was looking at it, recognizing they were a lot denser and nowhere you're going to have 75 foot available for a buffer, they said, well, we're going to make them do some vegetative and non-vegetative means because you can't plant an effective visual screen in only 10 or 15 feet. So it has to get a fence in there and provide those extra things. That would be the only, just thinking back to the time frame when this was being created.
That's why I'm thinking that more restrictive, I don't see of any way that loosening it up or making a smaller buffer in the county would hurt anything. But if you did have the instance, instead of doing a bunch of one-off variances, if we kind of streamline the setbacks and the buffers to be uniform with city and county, then you wouldn't have that parity issue when we start talking about growth along the city limits that are within the county. And I only bring this up because we looked at one and this affects this one too. But I mean, we start looking at the bypass. If there's any growth there, that's going to be an issue. If lots are sold and, commercial lots are sold on it. If it's on one side of the bypass, then you got a 50-foot buffer. So on the other side of the bypass, you got a 10-foot buffer. I don't think it would negatively affect us in the county where it wouldn't be imposed. So,
any thoughts from the board?
I would be inclined to agree with Sam that uniformity and commonality in those sort of zoning objectives or ordinances, however we're going to play it out, should be consistent. I don't want to have any confusion, especially as we move down Gray Highway. The reality is you shift quickly from city to county, and now the setback is significantly different. And again, the only reason why I remember setbacks being important was, of course, for utility road expansion. You sit on mats, Are we going any further with Gray Highway? Is it going to be 6 lanes? And if it's not, then 75 may not be such a big deal. So, I would say let's look at meeting or matching up with the city to be consistent.
Commissioner Robinson, any thoughts?
I think it should be the same as the city.
Commissioner Pitts?
Same.
We want to put it in form of a motion?
all right, Chairman, I make a motion that we make the property setbacks and, okay, sorry.
The motion would be to begin the text amendment process, and we'll take that through the planning commission.
Yeah. He'll make the motion, you put the words
The
at it.
text amendment to
Amend section 84
amend section 84
to provide buffer requirements that will mirror the cities.
Okay.
that will mirror the cities. There you go.
See, I do.
See, I knew I could get it.
Well put, Sam.
Well put.
Second.
You got a second? All right. You always got to have a good laugh. All right. Any more discussion? None. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Well, ayes have it. Thank you.
This will come back to y'all in about 2 months.
All right. Thank you very much for staying over. You gonna do the next one, Commissioner Kitchen? I just want to make sure you're doing a pretty good job so far tonight. All right. Number 3, approve and adopt resolution 201-806-1R for capital improvement elements. This is CIE annual update. Ms. Gregg, you want to come forward? I think this was yours. Jason was prepared to do it if you wasn't here, but we knew you would show up.
I believe this is mine, and I'll try to make it quick for y'all here. So as y'all remember, County is required to do an annual update to your capital improvement element because you have a account for funds collected from impact fees. Obviously, y'all last year reduced those down to zero, but the account is still there. Money is still in the account. You still have to report on it, which means it has to go to the Department of Community Affairs. Last month, y'all voted to transmit it over to them. They looked at it quickly and said, "Yep, all looks good." They found a 1 cent rounding error, which we fixed. So just so you know, it was a very thorough review, and they said, "Yep, it looks good for you to approve." So at this point, we would ask for a motion to approve the report with the annual CIE update and the update to the work program that goes with it, which is basically just saying the good things that you did in the past year.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
A second.
If any discussion, none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Thank you,
Thank you
Greg,
very
for showing up. Thank you. All right, number 4 on our new business, sewer tap fees waived from Macon Water Authority portion of the fee. Mr. Kitchen?
Got a call from a resident in River North. As you know, we own and maintain that, or maintain that system, but it goes to the Macon Water Authority. This resident bought the house several years back under the pretense that it was on city sewer, on the sewer system. Actually paid sewer fees for some time. Found out that it was not on the sewer system, it was on a septic tank. He was reimbursed his sewer fees. At that time, he discussed getting off of a septic tank and onto the sewer system, and found out that neighbors on both sides had taps in place. One's using it and one's not tied in. But after further research, he didn't have a tap at the line on his property to be able to tap in, even though he was sold as on sewer and paying sewer fees. So we start investigating how to get him, and he's wanting to pay a sewer tap. And then we come to find out that we charge $1,750 for a tap fee. His was $3,500 because one tap fee goes to the water authority and one tap fee goes to the county. Only one person is going to tap it. Only one entity is going to do the work, and there's only going to be one tap fee. Until we resolve that issue, this resident, in my opinion, has done everything he needs to do to try to tap into our system. I don't understand why we're charging him 2 tap fees. And so my request is to waive one of the tap fees.
Why'd they do too fast? I mean, they don't.
The water authority requires a tap fee on because they maintain it's their system.
Right.
You chime in, Jason?
Yeah. So yeah, typically anytime anybody wants to tie on to the sewer system, there is the $3,500 tap fee. We always have to turn around and, just like I said, remit half of that to Macon Water Authority, as I guess as part of our arrangement with them, and then the other $1,750 comes to us as payment for doing the labor and that type of thing.
Actual tap service.
Yes, that's right.
My question, has every house in River North had to pay this fee?
I don't know the whole history on that, and so I'm not real sure.
I mean, that would be kind of a question I'd want to know, because I mean, if everybody in River North has had to pay that $3,400, and then all of a sudden we're going to waive it
for one person,
as a neighbor, I'd be standing on my head. Wait a minute now.
Right? Why?
Why?
I think the one-off for this one would be if he bought and he's got all documentation that he bought a house that said it was on the sewer system. So I would assume if we didn't know if it was on sewer or not, and there's a tap, not a tap, and a tap, and his house is not available with a tap, I would assume that when that house was built, all of those paid a tap fee. If that house was documented as being sold on sewer, I would assume he thought he would. He paid a tap fee and he was thinking he was on sewer.
Did I hear you earlier say that he was paying sewer fees?
Right.
Already.
2015 to 17, and I think he was reimbursed the sewer fees that he'd been paying in when they found out that he was not on sewer.
Okay.
And now I want to get on sewer, and so he paid sewer fees for 2 years. Now he's going to pay 2 tap fees to get on sewer that he thought he was on originally.
Again, I'm inclined to agree with the chairman. If everyone else has been paying that tap fee, it's consistent. And then I think going forward, you all need to make a call on River North. But that group also pays an extra millage for their sewer system, so they've always been sort of self-managing that responsibility. Again, if everyone else is paying it, he probably should. I don't like it. 2 fees, but it is what it is.
I don't agree with the 2 fees, but if everybody in River North, as many houses in there have had to pay that.
Right.
I mean,
do we have anything that shows, or do we know that they're paying that, or that house is not?
I'd have to check and see. I don't know how far back our records go on that whole system.
how old's the house?
I don't know. He's only been there a couple of years because he bought the house, and his paperwork says he's on county sewer
Right.
when he bought the house. So,
Could that be a realtor issue, or they just didn't enter the information correct? No.
That's us.
Okay.
We coded it.
Okay.
and I thought long and hard about that. That how do we and I don't know that if we've got documentation in our records to show whether the previous owner paid that tap fee and we were never hooked up. I mean, as jacked up as it is right now, that would be hard to.
He's at it 5 year? Look, roughly, let's just say 5 year. Title insurance, isn't that something that?
And when Commissioner Kitchens was saying he was told it was on the sewer system, was that by the person he bought it from? That would kind of get to what you're saying, Chairman, that, that gets to do with his title and who sold it to him and whether that person.
I mean, he could actually, it's a possibility. I don't know for a fact, depending on if he had title insurance. I think title insurance is one of the things mentioned, in that. Don't hold me if I'm wrong.
I think it would be. I don't do real estate work at all, but I'm pretty sure that would be something that would be involved.
I know title insurance is pretty extensive as far as what it covers, but it also, it names, and if it was done through an MLS with the realtor and all that, there's a lot of disclosures in that, it'd be worth checking into.
Right. And then we're going to err from a realtor side on error and omission. Oops, I checked the box accidentally, And then it's on that realtor from that perspective. But if the county coded it as a sewer, that's a permitting issue because when we file, we asked.
Right.
Yeah, because if we're charging them sewer fees for 2 years, we, as a county, assumed that they were on the sewer.
Right.
Which that's where I got a little bit of an issue. If we've made mistakes, if that's our fee, that's our fee. But if we've made those mistakes and we don't know whether we're right or not.
We got an opportunity to do some more research on it and come back to it if you'd like. How's that sound?
Absolutely. Listening to the story, I would be in the same position that
right.
If I bought something thinking I was on sewer, right. Paid for sewer for 2 or 3 years, I wouldn't want to pay that much to
I would think
actually get what I was paying for.
Your homeowner do his homework. Just I'm sure he's still got his closing documents to see what he's got on that. And it might be a possibility he's got other recourse. And
we'll put that on Jason's list.
Yeah, he was bored today. All right.
Good deal. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Going forward, number 5, approve going out for bid for a generator for Haddock Well.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Jeffrey was not able to be here tonight. Good news, though, from his situation. His son's coming home today.
That's right.
That is.
So he was at home making preparations for that. He was back at work today, so we're mighty glad to have him back. Mighty glad that things are looking up there. Before you on the desk, I printed out just a couple of pages out of our financials dealing with the water department. Over on the second page, there's a highlighted line item there, machinery and equipment. As we went through the budget process last year, we had originally budgeted some money there, $36,000, anticipating purchase or a lease of a mini excavator. As we got to evaluating that, you may recall we went through and purchased a hydro excavator. That purchase cost, coupled with the trade-in, cost us $20,500. So there's about $15,000 left in that line item. Excuse me. We had 3 wells there in Haddock, and Commissioner Pitts and I and Jeffrey and Zeke that runs our water system there have had a number of conversations about attaching generators to those 3 wells so that we'll ensure that we have water in the event of a power outage. In talking with Jeffrey, he feels like the 15,000 would be sufficient to put a generator at each of those well sites, and so tonight we're just asking for the board's permission to go out for bid on 3 20 kW generators for those well sites in Haddock.
Any question for Mr. Risner on the request?
I think it's got to have it.
All right. Need a motion?
I made the motion, Mr. Chairman, that we go out for bids for the generators for the Haddock wells.
All right, we have a motion second.
Second.
Any more discussion? None. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Number 6, award RFQ for countywide energy conservation services program.
Mr. Chairman, I'll start off and hand it over to Commissioner Kitchens, if that's okay.
Sure.
You may recall we went out for bid, I guess a couple months ago now, on to select an energy services company to work with on some energy efficiency upgrades to our county facilities. We issued an RFQ. We had 2 companies that responded, Ameresco and Schneider Electric. We've gone through, Commissioner Kitchens has a lot of experience with these projects, and so he and I went through and did our best to evaluate the proposals. So I kind of turned it over to him to talk a little bit about the 2 and be happy to answer any questions after that if I can.
Thank you, Jason. One thing about this, an ESCO is an energy service company that comes to us basically with a project that we help design of what we want to see to reduce energy costs in the county. And it can be anything from lighting retrofits to air conditioner replacements to building envelopes, gas usage, water usage reduction, and all of those. So in looking at that, we're not looking at a normal bid for or proposal with prices. So that's not what we're grading on. We're grading on which company best suits our needs to move forward with some kind of relationship and partnership. I don't know that I've ever graded one that they were this close. Both companies are exceptional in what they do. Both of them, 20 to 25 years experience in doing it. Both of them are close to $1 billion in sureties and close to $700 projects that they've completed. Great references on both of them. One thing that stands out to me with Schneider was with any of these projects, we've got a couple of options on how to fund them. Either we put the money up front or we borrow the money and the savings realized from the project pays the debt. Most of the ones I've seen, there's a cost to that third-party financing option. One thing that's guaranteed through Schneider is the no-cost financing. Basically, they set up the relationship, you do the deal, and there's no oversight, overhead, any profit or anything like that. There's probably a couple more projects that Schneider has done than Ameresco. But 2 great companies that brought in these proposals. So I would really be happy with either one of them, but I think there's probably just 1 or 2 points that my recommendation would be Schneider Electric to enter into some type of agreement for energy services.
Any questions for Commissioner Kitchens?
And I guess my question, what type of, I understand we went through the whole proposal and the presentation that they gave. What type of agreement are we going into? Is it that we're going to, I'm making this up, we're going to agree to do $1 million worth of work and we'll work out the financing part, or what are we agreeing to? Or just to listen farther about the different options, or?
Right, we have to choose a company to strike an agreement with.
Okay.
And then we sit down and say, well, do we want just the low-hanging fruits? Do we just want to do lighting and VoIP and stuff like that? Or do we want to run the whole gamut and, do we want a $500,000 project or we want a $10 million project? How much can we fund? How much payback are we going to get? So I think there's a lot of variables in there. I would think the no-brainer would be the low-hanging fruit. And let's see, if we're going to get a 26% return on our investment, over a 10, 15-year deal, that's great. If it's a 22% return and we're going to do more of a project, but some of those are going to be long terms. When you start talking about building envelopes and roofs and air conditioners, you're looking at a 10 to 15-year return on your investment before it makes sense to do it. Lighting and stuff like that, you're 2-3 year turnaround on that. So we know we'll take the low-hanging fruit, or feel like we will. So I think at this point is kind of go more in depth with it and then have them bring it. This is the point, though, that we have to determine what our project's going to be. And then they'll do what they call an investment grade audit, where they'll go in and count exactly how many fixtures you have, how many light bulbs, how much down to the nickel, how much energy you're going to save, and then guarantee that. With that comes a little bit of guarantee on our part that we're not going to have engineers do 3 weeks worth of work and then go, nah, we don't want to do it, But so at this point, I think they'll come up with a plan. We'll design a plan, and then they'll tell us what it'll cost for the engineering and design. So our agreement at that point will be, if they do this engineering and design and then we decide not to do it, we're still on the hook for that engineering part of it for their time. Up until that point, we don't have any financial obligation. And our commitment to putting it out for an RFP was that there's a guaranteed savings. So my point is, if we're paying $500 for electricity per month and we're going to save $100 a month, and our bill for that, our payment for that is $50, well then they get 75, we get 25. It pays for the cost of the project. But we're guaranteed not to have to come out of pocket and pay anything more than what we're paying for energy right now. So, and this does not include any increases, power increases over the life of the term. So that's a guarantee. I hadn't seen many times that our power kilowatt rate has gone down. So I think I've done quite a few of them, and they're a good thing.
So right now, there's no financial obligation, yeah?
Not at this point. So we'll come back with an agreement with an obligation of some amount for engineering to approve. This is just to start moving forward with that conversation on what products and what the project looks like.
And if we don't approve that, then there's no cost.
That's our understanding.
Yeah. We have a young lady here with Snyder, if y'all would like to ask her any questions. Y'all have any questions for her? I try to put her on the spot.
I can go up there.
If y'all?
I don't have any questions. I'm just waiting for the motion.
Okay.
At what point, I got a question.
Hold on a minute so she can introduce herself.
Okay.
Get up for the record. Yes, ma'am. You don't mind?
Alyssa Hopeland, I'm with Schneider Electric.
If you'll come on up to the podium, that way we got you recording.
Got you recorded.
We didn't mean to put you on the spot tonight, but
It's okay, I was prepared for it. I'm Alyssa Hopeland, I work for Schneider Electric. I think y'all met Christy before, so I'm Christy's replacement. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago to talk about that. So What's your last name? Hoveland, Hovland. It's a little different.
At what point will we be financially obligated when we start the auditing?
Yeah, so now that y'all have selected a company, we'll get an agreement together that we'll send to all of y'all to look at, or whoever needs to look at it. And we'll come up with a number that y'all think is appropriate It's not necessarily for engineering costs, but it's kind of like an exit fee, basically. So if y'all say, hey, we want to do this project, you don't pay an exit fee because you're moving forward with the project. But say you enter into this design agreement with us, and then we design a whole project for you, and then y'all are like, no, we don't want to do anything. Then there would be a financial obligation. But you can just choose, say we design $1 million project for y'all, and then y'all are like, no, we just want to do lighting. Then you wouldn't owe that fee. It's just as long as you move forward with some piece of the project, then you won't owe that fee. Does that make sense?
Right. So you have to do something.
Yeah.
After you do agreement.
Did that answer your question? So now that y'all have selected a company, we'll work on an agreement, and then y'all can approve it from there, based on what y'all think is appropriate and what we think is appropriate.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Any more questions? Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Chairman, make a motion, we move forward with an agreement with Schneider Electric for energy services program.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? None, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Who was the second?
Daylon.
Daylon, second. You ready? All right, going forward, number 7, award bid for striping, 7.10 miles of temporary and permanent striping to be funded with the LMIG Local Maintenance Improvement Grant. Mr. Risner, I think this is you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We bid out the striping to go along with the resurfacing work, which is I think our next agenda item. We received 3 quotes, or three bids. I'm sorry. The low bid was from Midstate Construction and Striping. The base bid amount was $22,720. You may recall the board had requested that we also get pricing on high build and thermoplastic. The high build was alternate number 1 there on the bid tab. That's $34,080, and then alternate 2 is the thermoplastic, which is $62,480. Our recommendation would be to award the base bid amount $22,720 to Midstate Construction and Striping.
Any questions for Mr. Risner?
Yes, this is the first time I've seen alternate 1 and alternate 2. So high build versus the other, what's the difference?
So high build is
hold on, let me specify that.
I'm sorry.
How long will the striping last?
That may be a question for John.
Yeah.
Good question.
I mean, most striping lasts probably around 5 years.
Okay.
And we have to go back and do it again. I mean, on a new road, it might last a little bit longer, maybe 7, but.
How long will high build last? The same? And then the $62,000 version, the same?
The 62.
Yeah, that was like thermo.
Oh, the thermoplastic lasts longer than the.
How much longer?
Temporary.
How much longer? 15, 20 years?
I don't know if it'll last that long.
Okay, because it's 3 times the price. All right, so I'm okay. 5 years, 5 years, and 10. Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
Does it hold reflectivity any longer?
What's that?
The high build and the thermoplastic? Oh,
I think the thermal holds it better than the high build.
But it's not going to get us 3 times the value of what we're using.
He looks at Jason. That's not a good sign.
We hadn't used thermoplastic anywhere.
I don't think we've used either high build or thermoplastic. High build is what you see on a lot of state routes now, and it's I guess it's just thick. There's a certain number of millimeters, I guess, of thickness to high build. And then a lot of times where you see thermoplastic is at intersections, stop bars, and that kind of thing. I think we've used thermoplastic for some of those applications, but I don't know that we've done any regular road striping with either high build or thermoplastic. But John could probably speak to that better than I could.
Like he said, it's at the intersections that the thermoplastic is put down mainly.
To give the audience perspective, the low bid is 22, the next bid is 34, and the alternate is 62. So if we were getting twice for maybe 34, I could see it, and if we got 3 times for 62, that makes sense. But considering we're not getting any greater or significant length, I'm inclined to go with the base bid.
And that's what I'm, the biggest complaint we got was foggy, raining, the visibility. And that's what I want to know. Are we getting any added value if we're paying more for alternate number 1? What, even if it doesn't last any longer, if it's telling people where to turn. I know there are some roads we got that are horrible when you turn and you don't know which lane you're in, if it's raining or if it's cloudy. Does it fix that problem, and does it cause less accident or lend to less accidents, or last longer, or better visibility? Those are the comparing factors that I wanted to know.
Right. And I don't have a real good feel for how much of an impact the different striping types make.
Don't know. Well, I'm entertaining the motion.
Do we have to bid on this from tonight, or can we get some answers on those and something to kind of determine that before we?
Yeah.
We got time between the time they're going to fix the roads and then stripe them.
Correct. Yeah. We could certainly come back in a couple of weeks and get some additional information there. And the roads have to be paved first, so
we've got a little time.
Yeah, we've got a little time.
What would happen if we went with the number 1 on the main roads, and then the intersections looked at the high vis for safety reasons? Is that an option? That's where you're gonna have your most problem at. Out there in the intersection, even with the bypass now, we hear people, can't distinguish one lane from another. It's an option as far as looking at these intersections and using the thermal that would be more reflective, if so. I've got somebody in the back. We got a man with knowledge. Come forward, Mr. Ingram.
Longevity is a concern for me.
I don't know how y'all bid the project. Typically, stop bars are thermo all the time. That's the only thing put down. High build paint is easier to install. The illumination requirement from DOT is not as high as it is for thermoplastic. Thermoplastic is more temperamental. If it's on a triple surface treatment road or a chip seal road, the thermoplastic is not going to hold up as long as the paint. If it's a Type E or a 12.5 millimeter road, thermoplastic, you may get twice the length. But a lot of it boils down to whether paint or thermoplastic is the type of traffic. Because in a rural area where you've got a wide vehicle like a tractor or a lot of truck traffic, they're going to eat the center line up. It doesn't matter what it is. The other thing, I hate to say this, but striping is a pretty specialty item. Reflectivity is all about the number of glass beads put in the paint when it's put out. Same with thermoplastic. If it gets cold, the beads do not stick. We've had thermoplastic projects where you walk by and you can see the glass beads laying on the side of the road in the dirt because the thermoplastic got cold. And it's all how your spec will set up. You can require a high build to have the same illumination as thermoplastic, and they can meet it. But the other thing about illumination on thermo or paint is that it's a 30-day test and it's a 6-month test. It's not uncommon for it not to meet illumination at 30 days. But as traffic rolls on it, it polishes the beads and typically it improves. after about 6 or 8 months, you're not gonna be able to tell the difference between either one of them when it comes back down. The other issue with most all the striping companies, I think this group just started bidding projects because they had so much work and they were so far behind. It's the same problem we all see. Unemployment's 4%. 96% of the people are working. Not anybody can get a line truck and paint. A good thermoplastic high build paint line truck's about an $800,000 investment to get a really good one. And so it takes some skill. From what we've seen in the last 5 years, you're better off with the paint. You'll get better results with the paint and you'll get better coverage. The illumination will not quite be as good, but like I say, if thermo's good, it holds up well, but it has to be put down properly. If it gets cold on you, it's gonna tear, it's gonna peel, it's gonna crack, it's gonna chip out.
My question while you're up here, since you're coming up as a concerned constituent, maybe it won't cost us nothing. If you hear these bids, what would you consider?
I guess what's the difference between the 22 and the 34?
The 22 is just latex.
Okay.
Standard.
So it
paint.
is like a temporary.
Well, no, it's a permanent. It's whatever we've used for years and years, I guess, as just standard. I guess it's used both temporary and permanent. Yeah.
Okay. And can we alter the visibility, reflectivity to make that a little better?
Yeah, I mean, you can. The last big striping project we did last year, we did 34 miles. It was all high build paint, but the spec was set up for the illumination for the thermoplastic, which I think is 400 on the white line and 300 on the center line. Yeah, you can do that. You can add the more paint beads and the more paint to make it illumination better.
I would prefer to do it. I mean, we can come back with some numbers and vote on it at the meeting if you want to, but I think part of our problem is using the same product we've always used, and we get some complaints that it's not as visible or it's not good enough during foggy, rainy, low light.
I was just going to say, if we're okay with it, we can award to the low bid because they're significantly lower than everybody else, and then spec out, the additional items that we want. Because again, they're, 20-30% lower, at least on the first one.
Who all did you get bids from?
Mid-State Construction and Striping, Garner Seal Coating and Striping, and Peak Pavement Marking.
Okay. Striping's like anything else. Make sure Wendell or John's out there with them. Just so.
We need to make that part of the motion.
Thank you, Tim. All right, so we're going to table the striping until the next meeting, have some time to research it, or we're going to go forward, or what we're going to do?
I'm willing to meet the low bid and have a change order for the reflective.
Okay, I've got a motion on the low bid.
Second.
Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, we want to do the standard paint, the 22-720, and then work with the vendor on the
beads and the visibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. We're going number 8 is award bid for the 2018 L bidding for various roads in Jones County. Mr. Risner.
Mr. Chairman, we went out for bid on the paving work for this year's LMIG. This involved 3 roads, Comer Road, where we plan to do full depth reclamation, paving of Stallings Road, and resurfacing of Gerald Plantation Road. We received bids from 4 different vendors. So the base bid that you see there, those amounts are for those 3 roads. Alternate 1 was some patching on Stagecoach Road. We have several areas there that we've attempted to patch over time and had repeated issues there. We got some pricing on what it would cost to fix those patches. It came back above the bid threshold. We had this out for bid, and so we were able to do an addendum to get bid prices on those patches on Stagecoach Road. So that's alternate number 1. Alternate number 2 is some paving for the school board over at the football stadium, and they are considering that now, and so I want to discuss something else, but so what my recommendation would likely be to you is just to go ahead and approve the base bid and alternates 1 and 2, contingent upon the school board agreeing to that work, and we'd have an intergovernmental agreement to that effect. But I did want to talk to you some about the amounts here and the funding that we had available, and so as we got prices back this year, the price of asphalt has gone up considerably. Last year we had asphalt prices somewhere in the $62 to $64 a ton range. This year the low bid was $71 or $72 a ton. So we've had a pretty good increase there in asphalt prices. The amount that we had budgeted for LMIG, which included both the amount we get from GDOT and then in our match, was $820,000. Obviously, just the base bid amount there exceeds that by about $160,000. So what we've done is we've looked to other sources to be able to go ahead and do this work on those 3 roads. So before you have a little sources and uses chart that I did for you, kind of showing the different pots of money that I'm proposing that we draw from here. So we've got $820,000 available in the 2018 LMIG line item. We had $55,000 left in 2017 LMIG that could go towards this. In looking through the Public Works operating budget, the next 4 items are line item adjustments within their budget. So we would move $25,000 from equipment repair and maintenance, $15,000 from vehicle repair and maintenance, $10,000 from tires, and $40,000 from the asphalt line item. That would still leave them sufficient funds in those line items to operate for the remainder of the fiscal year. So it doesn't completely drain any of those line items. But those line items were in good shape, relatively speaking, and so we're able to move money from those line items. So that got us to a shortfall of $58,000, and so our proposal would be to use $58,625.43 out of 2015 SPLOST dollars that were allocated for Public Works. And so that would allow us to do the LMIG paving, the patching there on Stagecoach, and the striping work that we were just talking about, for a total amount of $1,023,852.03. And so that's kind of how the financing piece of this would work. Any questions about that? About the different sources of money there? If there are no questions on that, Mr. Chairman, my recommendation would be to award the LMIG paving project to Georgia Asphalt with a base bid amount of $982,450.83, an alternate one amount of $16,186.20, and then an alternate two amount of $25,461.60, contingent upon the Board of Education agreeing to have the work done and executing an intergovernmental agreement under which they would repay us for the $25,461.
Any more questions? None. I need a.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. We have a second. Second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Number 9, we have a award bid for sidewalks in Gray Haddock under the TE Transportation Enhancement Grant, TE 671.
Mr. Chairman, as you'll recall, we bid out the Transportation Enhancement Project. That's something that we've been working on for a number of years now, and we're excited to be at this point. We received a total of 3 bids, and the engineering firm that worked on this has compiled the bid tab in your packets there. The low bid in the amount of $647,543.35 came from Quality Construction by McElroy, and that meets with our the budgeted amount for this project. So my recommendation would be for the board to award the T project, subject to GDOT approval, which it's being reviewed now, to award the bid to Quality Construction by McElroy in the amount of $647,543.35.
I do have a question. Just I was looking through some of the prices, and some of them are way off, and I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. They didn't, underbid or just, forget to include a few items. Because there's a few of them, it's like, wow.
Like 4 inches of concrete.
Yeah, so
I talked a little bit with Jack Burnside, who's our consultant after the bid opening, and obviously when you have 2 that are up in the 900,000 range, and then you have one that's a lot lower, there's some cause for concern there. Jack's response, I guess, back to that was, they bid these unit prices, and they have to do it for these prices, and if and they knew the scope of the project when they bid it, so he felt comfortable that you can hold them to what they have here. So.
It's done every day.
Is that every day? Okay.
No doubt, but can they hold us to the scope of work we put out for bid, though? Or did the DOT design the scope?
The DOT has approved all of it. So it was all originally going way back. Tim Lake was the engineer that was involved on the project. He subsequently subbed it out to Stantec, and so Stantec developed all the plans for it. We've gone through extensive reviews with GDOT over and over and over again, so it seems, and so I feel comfortable that the plans included everything that needs to be done. So
who monitors this project? Is it a GDOT? Is it a GDOT monitor system, or who actually watches?
So they do some of it, and Stantec will have inspectors and that type of thing that monitor the work.
I said, just looking at it, it's over $250,000 difference on, a couple of the proposals, and we'll make sure we get some good quality work. I know that's a name, Quality Construction, but for that price, and Mr. Chairman said it happens every day.
I mean, people on the business, but if they got a scope of work and and specifications is all that they have to meet, and we've got somebody that's actually sitting there doing the inspections and signing. I mean, it's got to be signed off. I'm sure, like any other project up there.
Right. All right.
As long as we didn't miss something, because change orders happen every day too.
Right.
So, Mr. Chairman, if if Jason agrees with it and our consultant agrees with it, I make the motion we work with Quality Construction to move forward with this sidewalk project for Grand Haddon.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Last thing on our new business is approve going out for bid for the new transportation vehicle for the sheriff's office to be paid out of the jail fund. Mr. Resner,
Yes, sir. I'll handle this one. The sheriff has requested, you have a letter in your packet there where the sheriff has made a request that we go out for bid on a Tahoe.
We're not going to go for the 2014.
Yeah, that's an old letter, I think, that we got there.
Oh, no, it's 2014.
That's what he asked for.
Same thing. Why they buying old vehicles?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a letter from, so we have an old letter in the packet there. I'm sorry about that. But they've requested that we go out for bid on a 2018 Chevrolet Tahoe that'll be used for transporting inmates. The current vehicle has, I think, 300,000 miles on it, and they just have reached the point where they don't want to put any additional money into it. And so they have indicated to us that there's sufficient money in the jail fund to pay for this, and this would be an acceptable use since it would be used for transporting inmates. So my recommendation would be to go out for bid on one Chevrolet Tahoe for the sheriff's department.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I was just going to ask about state contract. Is that on the state contract anywhere?
I'm going to check and see, and I'll do that before we put the bid document out, just to see what kind of pricing we can get there. Sometimes we've been able to actually do better by bidding it out. So, but I think sometimes there are opportunities where it's better to go with the state contract price.
All right, let's move on. Department heads. Mr. Resner, you want to start tonight? You always get left out to the end. You want to start tonight?
I don't know that I have anything else, Mr. Chairman.
Well, how about that? Mr. Graham?
Yes, sir. I do. I've got two things. The contract the city and the county is, I've gotten word this morning that it was signed by the city, and can we go back?
Yeah. If we got a contract, if the board's wishes to sign a contract, we're good to go.
Do we have those?
Do we have it?
It's right over. Yeah.
Uh-oh, I'm about to knock it over, isn't it? Or do we have the contract? I thought we had the contract.
I think you just need your signature on it.
Okay.
Good to go.
Well, I signed one to go to them, didn't I?
Well, I told them to send this one back because we only had one signed. They kept the one you signed.
Oh, okay. All right. That's the same one I signed and sent to them. Okay. Yep. We got it.
Okay, the second part is I've spoken to the fire chief in Monroe County and Jasper County. With ISO coming in county to do another formal inspection, I want to do better this time. I know we moved 3 points up, which was outstanding, but I really want to move even further up. There are a few pockets that are a no coverage area, which is a class 10, and we know where those places are, right at the River Bridge on 18, and we've actually got a fire station on the Monroe County side now that they have offered to give us automatic aid to that area, like Tumbling Shoals, which is only 3 miles away. So with a Class A pumper coming from there, first, with us backing them up, will give us a lot better than no coverage at all. I spoke with the inspector that's coming in January. I'm already sending him some of our water stuff, you know, little odds and ends where it takes him only a very little time to be here for the inspection. So I'm feeding him all the time. So Monroe County's agreed to do it, but I've got to go before their board too. And I'm just asking for your blessings for both of those counties, Monroe County and Jasper County, for myself to go before those boards and get their blessings also. I think it would be the right thing to do. It's okay to have chiefs signing the paperwork, but it's even more bona fide to have our VOCs signing off on something like this. So it will give us a better score or more points. I don't have any idea if we can do better, but we're still moving in the right direction. So maybe we can sneak in another point.
Would a letter from the chairman or from the board assist you in going to them?
Well, no, just tell me that to go, and I'll go. I'll be there.
Consent of the board that he may go.
That's what I'm asking is just a lesson from the board.
I just didn't know if it would benefit you if the chairman sent their chairman a letter saying we're all on board and we'd like to see this happen. And
I can pick up the phone, call Greg on that one. But in the same thing, I don't know if Putnam County had ever reached out to you, but the several commissioners had reached out to us about maybe collaborating with them as far as doing the same on their line.
It may be for them, it's looking better for them from getting us to go their way.
Sure.
You gotta give some to get some.
Right. And I understand, but definitely.
Absolutely, Monroe County.
And Monroe County will definitely give us the benefit. It'll pull us out of that socket where we've been in so many years. Because the rules have changed.
Sure.
And there's new regulations and there's more points to get now, and I don't want to miss out.
Sure. We can draft, excuse me, we can draft a letter, but I can also call Chairman Taplin, give him a heads up what we're trying to do, and we can go from there.
Thank you, sir.
Can we authorize him to do all neighboring counties?
Yeah.
Well, let me check this. I've got mutual agreements for every county that touches us. That was the first project that I worked on when I came here 9 years ago. This is a little bit different because this is automatic aid. So if somebody calls 911, let's say we've got a house fire in Timberland Shoals. We know that we're 7 miles from there. We know that. We can't help that other than unless you want to build another satellite or whatever. Automatically, we're getting the call, but they're sending it to Monroe County too. They will beat us every time. So even if we have somebody sitting in a truck, they're going to beat us. Those are manned stations over there.
Right.
Hillsboro's a little bit different, but they're still coming our way.
Right. And particularly in District 4, Macon is right on Sherland Drive, can respond to New Clinton faster than, and that's why that's also important, you know.
9 times out of 10, they're coming with us anyway because the line is so jagged like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, we're hitting their hydrants too, so not hitting them, but
I just wasn't sure.
From their don't tell Sam that. Their water too, so.
As long as they don't bill us. But I just want to make sure that that's in place.
It's in place.
Sure. Thank you, Don.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lowe?
I just want to let y'all know we're going to get back on stalling since the rain just finally stopped. So I think they went up the other day and put in a driveway pipe to one of John Gary's property. So
good.
We're going to get back up there and get started on that.
Good.
And we are cutting grass.
Yeah.
I hope next year we can maybe do a little more spraying on our paved roads.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to chime in. It's kind of interesting. When I was elected a commissioner, I think that's the most calls I ever got was about cutting grass, getting my grass cut on a regular basis. So I sent John an email and Angie and copied the chairman as well as Jason on it about a proposal. to come before the Board of Commissioners of ways to address this grass cutting issue, whether it's each district have a team that's cutting the grass. So I just want them to study it and come back before the board and just give that presentation, because I believe the other commissioners get that same phone call about getting the grass cut on a regular basis. And I think that's something that we should tackle. And I mean, put it on the top of our priority list, because every year it's the same thing. And I understand it's going to rain. We are going to have a rainy season. But I think we should have a plan in place that, all right, if we know it's going to rain, so what we're going to do is we're going to have some day laborers or whatever to make sure that we jump on that project as soon as it clears up and it's safe for us to cut some grass. And it may get to the point that it's a public-private partnership. So but just looking at different ways of trying to address that issue.
I wish some citizens would help.
Some citizens would help. Okay.
Like I do on Green Sullivan.
Right, right.
I cut quite a bit out there on the right of way.
Yeah.
Me too. Mr. Gowen?
Yes, sir. We got a couple things. Come up front for one of them. First, I got some exciting news. The playground is almost ready. They came out this past weekend and started laying down the neoprene surface. They got the whole playground covered. What they're doing now is letting it cure. We're looking at, unless Mother Nature decides to involve herself again, we're looking at a grand opening of July 21st at 6 p.m. They're having a ribbon cutting, so that's something, June 21st, thank you. June 21st at 6 p.m. So I'll get you a little more information on that. It gets a little bit closer. I just don't, but that's to put that on the calendar, because that's what we're looking at right now, assuming Mother Nature doesn't hinder us any further. The other thing, the summer feeding program started this week. I'm excited to say that we fed over 40 kids today. So that's going good, including also feeding over 70 kids. The name of the neighborhood just went blank. The neighborhood right down there across Grey Gardens. Thank you. Over 70 kids in Grey Gardens. So it's starting really good this year. And for this to be our second day, second day, I'm excited about where it's going to take us.
Good job.
So thank y'all for supporting us and doing that.
Good job.
And the last thing is, last year I came before you for your approval of a policy and procedures for the golf course. And we started slowly introducing that policy procedure manual to the patrons that come out and visit the golf course. And we're at the point now where we've done that, we've implemented some, and we've taken baby steps. And we've started giving out warnings, and we started asking people to please obey these policies and procedures that we've set forth. And we're starting to have it seems to be the same common core of individuals that are just blatantly disregarding our requests for these policies and procedures. So I spoke with Jason about it, and I also spoke with the chairman about it, and both of them said I should come before you to get y'all's consensus on this. And what I'm asking tonight is this, because I know when I start doing this, your phone's going to ring, or you're going to see it on social media, or people are going to be, upset about it. I'm asking your permission or your blessing to start doing what the policy procedure manual says, which is the first one is warning, which is what we've been doing. Second one starts fining the individual with $50 first offense, $100 second offense. Third offense is they're asked not to come back to the course for a determined amount of time. With that being said, I know the first individual that I go to, I don't know who it is, I'm saying whoever that first individual is that continue to break this policy, when I implement that fine to them, they're subject to go on social media, they're subject to start calling you. So I don't want you to get blindsided saying, what is Matt doing? So I'm here tonight to ask your blessings or to get your opinion on me doing this.
Please follow the book.
Did we put on a monetary?
Follow the bylaw.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I would think everybody wants a nice golf course and nice parks and everything, and there's rules and regulations for that, whether it be not bring your dog to the ball field and everybody needs to respect that. And if they can't, well, they need to be, I hate to say it, but they need to pay the consequence. I think it's a great deal. If they want a nice golf course, the reason for those rules is that we preserve that.
And forward all costs to Jonathan, it's in his district.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Tell them to call their commission.
That's right. When you issue the citation, have Jonathan's.
No deal.
I mean, I hate that I'm having to stand before you and ask this permission, and it's a shame that some of the individuals that continue to just blatantly violate the policies are people that call themselves members. And that's the sad part. But again, thank you very much for your support.
Look, if it's a little redheaded kid with a Tennessee emblem on it, let me know when you find it.
It goes without saying, I guess, until the fine is paid, obviously you can't play again.
That's right. The policy states that once you're fined, you can't play again until you pay your fine. Correct. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add
Absolutely.
something with that with the golf course?
Sure.
I've been playing golf there for 44 years now. They used to actually cut school when it was a 9-hole and go out and play three or four holes and then get back to class. But I had 3 meetings out there at the clubhouse this past week, and there was probably 60 folks at each one, and there's a lot of people hadn't been by here in years. Brother, you have done a fine job on that golf course. Like I said, I played there when it was a 9-hole, and I know you did too. But
I didn't cut school with you though. I didn't cut school with you though.
Yeah.
I was out there probably playing a match while you were cutting school.
No, you were up on that tower in the back.
I never wrote anything on that tower.
What I'm saying is I know there's been big help with Mother Nature and stuff like that, but the golf course has never looked as good as it does now. And I even heard people talk about membership. And I sent them down there to the clubhouse, and I don't even know. There is a membership, I think. But, kudos to all those guys down there. And I actually fed all the guys that were working out there that day and told them how good of a job that they've done. It's immaculate. I mean, immaculate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to Commissioner's comments. Mr. Robinson, you want to start?
Yeah, well, I just want to say I'm thankful for the dedication of our county administrator and all of our staff and all the department heads. I say again, I think we have the best in the state. Thank you.
Absolutely. Commissioner Martin?
Echo that, and then code red notices are going out, which are great. We know to run for cover, so I appreciate that. Excited about the food program. The Board of Ed actually sent it out on one call, so it's reaching more households. I do check my email, and I just got a couple quick questions, and y'all can help me with this one. On the LMIG, we're still spending money from 2015. Is there more money in the 2015 and 2017s?
The only leftover, so to speak, LMIG money we've got is 2017. The far right column there is SPLOST money.
Oh, right, SPLOST. I'm sorry, 2015 SPLOST. Is there still more 2015 SPLOST?
There is. We've got a variety of different things, library projects going on now out of there, payments for the Highway 18 complex,
Gotcha.
a number of different things there. And so I think originally there was 1.3 million allocated for public works.
If we could start having an update, I know we talked about that at one point, and even project progression, an update on that, because we don't always know what's available until we see it. And we're like, there was still money from 2015. So love to see that. And then over here on the water, don't go away. All of a sudden, the banking fees, we went like negative $6,700. It was like the top line on the second page. It just stood out. And then contract labor bubbled up $8,500, and then water sewage charges $29,000. So those just kind of stood out. $6,000 in banking fees.
I'll check and see what's going on with all three of those, and respond back to you. That's okay.
And I know those go out, and people are getting those in the email, right? Where you're seeing the budgets and the dollars that we're spending. We don't always see those line items because many of us are scrolling on the phone. I know I am. So thank you for taking a look at that.
Is that it, Commissioner Martin?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Pitt?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just echoing what everybody else has said, appreciate the team and everything they do to keep our community as nice and as healthy as it is. And I do want to encourage the commissioners to take a peek at your Georgia Trend magazine. Some really great articles in there. And it highlighted 5 counties as counties of distinction, if I'm not mistaken. And on page 36 and 37, it went over animal services in Columbia County. And it was a really good article that I would really like to make sure that John Jackson gets a chance to review it and see some of the things that they're doing there. Because I like, there's like a reading program for kids that have challenges reading in front of people. They can read to a dog. And I would love to partner with our Board of Education so that the kids are forming a relationship with dogs. They're helping with their reading and literacy. It's only going to make them better students and just continue to improve our quality of life. Another item in there is Liberty County on page 41, their wellness program. That's something I'm very passionate about. And it hit on the fact that their healthcare insurance costs has increased maybe little to nothing because of a wellness program. So I want to make sure that Shaw Hinkins is reviewing that as we get ready to implement our wellness program at the beginning of the year. As we have those challenges with insurance costs, this wellness program is something that really works, and I really want to make sure we have a good, effective program when the time comes. And just thank Matt as well as the Board of Education with this summer feeder program. It is really awesome. It's sad, some kids miss out on breakfast and lunch because they're out of school, but to know that we are trying to help meet that need, it is truly is awesome, and it's great to serve a community like this. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you. Commissioner Kitchens?
I echo what everyone else said about the employees. Thank them for what they do every day, and they make us look good, and that's not easy. Special shout out to them. We got an email from Charles. We had another month with no accidents, no lost time. That's something that hadn't happened in a long time. We just go month after month, and that's because people are aware, they pay attention to what they're doing, and it's all on them to go home safe every day. Talking about budget, you start looking at work sessions, upcoming budget sessions, and we start looking at them before we get to the end of the year and say, uh-oh, I need to make a change. So, but other than that, thank all the employees for what they do.
I too appreciate all the employees and everything you do, but we also appreciate the citizens and y'all's involvement that you have. We see a good many of you here, but out in the public too, when they come up to you and ask, share their concerns or thoughts with you. But I want everybody also to consider, we've got a lot of vacancies on some boards coming that I would encourage you to think about. And your involvement's great, and we'd appreciate it even more if you would consider maybe putting your name in a hat for a board appointment. We've got several vacancies right now, and we need some help. So
can we put those on the agenda too, like either at the bottom, so we can be constantly reminded of those?
Sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely. But we do thank y'all very much. Citizen comments. Anybody like to come forward tonight and speak? Ladies first. Miss Debbie, and then we'll move back. Yes, ma'am.
I know, heaven forbid, that somebody doesn't read the Jones County News, but there's a story that's going to be in the paper tomorrow, and I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware. I did a story about the free summer lunches, and I want you to know that this is happening because of Matt. I talked to Rosalind Foster at the school nutrition, and this is something that she'd been planning to do, something Jonathan had already talked to her about, and it was something that was kind of in the back of her mind that she wanted to do. But it was Matt that went to her and said, we got to do this. How do we make this happen? Mm-hmm. And it's because of him that these kids are getting free lunches every day. And it just makes me feel proud to be a part of Jones County for some. And, this isn't in Matt's job description. This kind of stuff that he does. It's in his heart. Mm-hmm. And after he gets done with that, now he's going to start up the First Foundation again to make sure all the kids learn to read. Mm-hmm. How many recreation directors do that? I just want to make sure you guys know what you've got.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
we had two. Ms. Boykin, and we'll get Mr. Wood up here.
All right, thank you very much. Rare that I come up here and do this, but did want to take a few moments on behalf of the Middle Georgia Clean Air Coalition, which is the other hat that I wear from time to time, to thank the county for all of your continued involvement with that. I know I see a number of you, Commissioner Kitchens, at almost every meeting, the chairman at a number of meetings, and wanted to say a special thank you to Commissioner Martin, who is wrapping up 2 years as the chairman of the Clean Air Coalition. So thank you for your service over those past 2 years. And excited to continue working with you on air quality issues across the region. So thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Craig. Mr. Wood?
John Wood, Olive Green Road. I have a comment on the Haddock wells and the generators. It's a great idea. I would have probably done that before running the water line to Baldwin County. It's much cheaper alternative. You have a storm come through, hurricane, ice storm, whichever it is, you lose power. Generators swap over automatically if you set them up that way, automatic bus transfer systems. It's a much cheaper option. But let me remind y'all, we have citizens, residents, taxpayers in this county that don't have running water because they do not have a working well. Well drillers have done all they can, and there is no geological water available on their properties or near their properties. I mean, third world countries have better water systems than those people. They haul water every day to flush their toilets. Let's
Thank you.
think about that when we, expanding water lines. Put water lines where they're needed, and you're gonna get the most customers.
All right.
Tap on.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? If none, Mr. Pitts, I need your help.
Mr. Chair, make the motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank y'all. Thank everybody for coming.